We are going to be learning so much today. I am going to be sharing a lot of information with you that is going to be game changing. So I hope that you can minimize all your distraction for the next hour or so while I share the information. While you're here with me, just pretend that you're in a nutrition consultation, pretend that you've paid a lot of money for this so that you actually, are present and really are able to soak in what I'm about to share, because I guarantee you that it's new information, and I can guarantee you that your jaw is going to drop. All right, so now that it is 5 p.m. on the dot here in Vancouver, and it seems like you can all hear me, you can see me, you can see the slides. And what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna do a little introduction of what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna give you a little bit of an overview. And as part of minimizing distractions, I'm gonna get rid of my little video box so that I can focus on what I'm gonna be saying, but also because I want you to focus on this on the screen and just really listen to the things that I'm saying. So I'm gonna say bye for now, and I'll be checking in a little bit later. So what we're going to do today, right after this brief little intro, is we are going to figure out if you are in the right place. Then we are going to go through exactly why diets have failed you over and over again in the past. So those are the major diet truths. And fourth, I am going to teach you how food actually works in your body when you eat it, and of course, what that means for fat loss. And then I am going to break down the exact 3 steps that I use, using all of that background information, to help my clients lose fat faster and without giving up chocolate. Very important. And last but not least, we're gonna recap and wrap it all up, and I'm gonna give you some time to ask questions as well. Also, heads up, I'm sharing a lot of information with you today. So if you start to feel a bit overwhelmed, that's very okay and very normal. In fact, I want you to feel that way because I want you to realize that you really are learning a lot of things that you thought you knew, but you don't really. I'm going to be sharing truths with you today that are going to be super helpful for you moving forward. So if that happens, if you start to feel overwhelmed, just take a deep breath and just try to listen and remember whatever you can. There we go. And my promise to you today is that if you stay until the end of today's webinar, you're going to leave knowing exactly how or what you need to do to start losing fat and keep it off right away and in real life. And that's why you're here. You're done with the confusion. You're done with the trial and error. And I know it sounds unrealistic and maybe a little bit impossible, but that's what we're going to do. And my promise to you is that I'm not going to, there are no magic pills. I'm not selling any magic pills. I'm not going to promise you 20 pounds in 10 days because that's unrealistic. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to manipulate you. And I'm not going to make any false promises. Okay. There's enough of that out there. And I'm also not going to offer you an overnight miracle. What I do promise you is that your success or lack thereof is based on you making a decision. What you need to know is that having a proven system to follow is the foundation for lasting fat loss. And I'll be teaching you 3 steps of my Smarter Fat Loss System today to get you started on the right track. And you might be thinking that I'm self-sabotaging here because I'm sharing my 3 secrets, but I'm not. I'm just telling it like it is because you've been receiving false information long enough. And it's truly really upsetting from my end. So as point 3 states, no lies, manipulation, or false promises. Who am I? So let me introduce myself before we continue, because you're probably wondering who this voice is attached to. My name is Natalie. I am a recovered sugar addict. So I've been where you are. I'm also a registered nutritionist and the founder of Natalie's Nutrition and creator of the Smarter Fat Loss System, through which I help women that want to lose weight and keep it off, a simple way of eating that eliminates cravings and doesn't involve stomach growls, sad little salads, or giving up chocolate. Anybody else love chocolate here as much as I do? Because I've been mentioning it all night. Probably, yeah, usually. And we don't want to give that up just for the sake of weight loss, right? My mission is something I'm very passionate about. I want to teach you a simple and delicious way of eating that puts a stop to your cravings and will set you up for long-term fat loss. But as you might imagine, things started out a little bit differently. When I started my career as a holistic nutritionist, so I was fresh out of school, I thought that it was my duty to get everyone to eat local, organic, and seasonal food, ideally from the farmer's market, to reach optimum health and happiness. And you know what? This is a really nice goal to have for one's health. But the reality is that a lot of people have much greater foundational problems to deal with first. Physiological problems like cravings, slow metabolisms, weight management, diabetes, right? None of this is going to go away by eating organic or local. And I couldn't turn a blind eye to it, especially not after the knowledge I had acquired at school and seeing all the fluff that is being taught out there to quote unquote solve the problems. Unrealistic things like coaches telling you to just use more willpowers, count your calories and eat less, eat super restrictive and do tons of cardio. And that's no fun. And guess what? It doesn't even work that way. Now, I just shared with you that I was a sugar addict, but I haven't shared my full story. And the truth is that I was obese. Now, you couldn't tell by just looking at me. You see, I have height on my side, and truth be told, I never had more than 30 pounds of extra weight on me. But my body fat percentage was 35%. Clinically, I was obese. I was skinny fat, and I felt like crap. I was obsessed with food, frustrated and insecure. My clothes wouldn't fit me anymore, and I hated looking at myself in the mirror. Everything jiggled. Buying new clothes was a nightmare. And man, how I wish that I knew then what I know now. Now I eat more than ever, and my cravings are gone. There's no more need for willpower. I get to enjoy chocolate every day, and I put away what I don't want to eat, which was unheard of years back. My stomach is flat, my love handles are gone, even though I enjoy the occasional pizza. And that's because I know how to fire up my metabolism by turning on my fat-burning hormones. And that's what I want for you. Food freedom, confidence about your body and your decisions around food. Not to obsess about food all day or to have food control you. And that's why I want to teach women this simple way of eating, to put an end to their cravings so the scale can finally move in the right direction without giving up chocolate. Okay? So, after nutrition school, what helped me overcome my cravings and lose fat was put to the ultimate test when my best friend, Catherine, came up to me and said, Natalie, you're now a nutritionist, help me lose weight and keep it off because you know everything about food now. Whew. So, truth be told, I was terrified. You see, my best friend, Catherine, had tried every diet in the book since she was a teenager. I think she started when she was 12. And she spent, or I should say she wasted so much money on the latest fad diets like Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig's, and doctors and diet gurus, gym membership, personal trainers, you name it. She did it. And unfortunately, she wasn't always being good to her body. But things turned out well for her. Thank God when we worked together. This is what Catherine said. She lost 50 pounds in 6 months. She said, I tried every diet in the book and saw extreme dieting as the only solution to weight loss. I'd reach my goal, but would then be unable to maintain it, yo-yoing back and forth for over 20 years until recently, Natalie broke the cycle. She saved my life and my sanity. So here's Catherine, as you can see on the left. This was her before. This was after she had 2 children. And this was fairly typical for her as well. And on the right side, This was the after, obviously, after we started working together, after her 6 months. And I'm happy to say that she looks better than ever. This is a 2018 picture that you see on the right. And she still looks this fabulous, if not even more fabulous. And she feels so fabulous even now, 2 years later, because she learned how to turn on her fat burning hormones. And we don't work together anymore. So this Catherine just learned what she needs to do, and she's out on her own. She's enjoying her life and eating the foods that she loves. So I also want to highlight that Catherine is not different. She just learned and implemented the steps of the system. So to deliver on the promise I made to you a few slides back, we're going to do 3 things tonight. You're going to learn why willpower is not the reason you keep failing. Second, you're going to learn which foods create hormonal fat loss and hormonal fat burning. And no, it really doesn't have much to do with how many calories they have. And third, I'm going to make sure that you understand the biggest mistake that most women make when it comes to starting a fat loss program and how you can avoid it. Does that make sense before I go on? Yeah? Anyone else excited? I always get super excited. I love doing this because I know how much value you get out of it. Okay. Okay, cool, because I'm excited to teach you. So we're in the right place. So let's start here. There's a reason that every diet you try works at first and you think you're being successful, but then completely backfires and you gain more weight. Yes, sorry, I just got an Emily, I love you said you want to lose weight and still be able to eat pizza occasionally. Exactly. And I think occasionally is key word here too. But you're gonna learn how to turn on those fat burning hormones today, okay? So, right, the thing that we're going to focus on tonight, and this is a total game changer, okay? The reason why you failed in the past and why you started to gain more weight, it's not that you're missing that secret supplement that everyone else seems to know about. So it's not that you're missing green coffee beans, or because you're not exercising enough, or because you're just too weak and you don't have enough willpower. It's that you aren't eating the right foods. You aren't eating the foods that support the hormonal state of fat loss. It's that simple. Look, I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but I know it's true. This is based on science, and I want you to keep that in mind throughout today's talk. Everything is based on science. It's not woo-woo. This is not something that I thought might be fun to try on somebody. Learning how food works and how to use that to hit your goals is a huge game changer. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Because if we can figure that out, there's no more mystery. We always know what to eat, we hit our goals, and life gets easier. So before we move on, let's figure out if you're in the right place. If the system is going to work for you the way it did for me and continues to do so for my clients. My method, my way of eating, is not going to be for everyone. And I'm very honest about that. It's for a very specific group of women who have tried everything. Women who have spent the time, they have logged the hours, and also spent a small fortune on dieting and supplements and all of the things out there, but have never been able to make it work for real life. So let's spend a bit of time and figure out if you're here in the right place, because I don't want to waste your time. So you are in the right place if nothing is working. Eating less and exercising more just isn't working for you. And you're in the right place if you're still gaining or maintaining no matter how little you eat. So yeah, if you're making the same mistake I was, then you're definitely in the right place. I thought that the less I ate and the more I exercised, the skinnier I would get. I thought it was as simple as calories in minus calories out. As long as the calories out were bigger, I'd lose weight. Make sense? Right. Emily, again, you feel like you've been gaining 5 pounds a year with any changes to my habits. And that's maybe like the habits that you have right now might not be serving you, right? So it's time for new habits that really support weight loss so you can start losing those 5 pounds instead of gaining them, okay? So thank you for sharing that. So yeah, as I thought before, as long as the calories out were bigger, I'd lose weight, right? Anyone else? Anyone else think that weight loss is calories in have to be less than calories out? That's like the typical equation that we hear. We hear it in magazines, we hear it from friends, we grow up with that, right? But I was so wrong. And all of that is so wrong. And it pains me today to still hear people saying that that's the way to go about weight loss. Because I learned that calories are a very small part to a very big picture. You see, it's not just about calories. Whether you burn or store fat is determined by hormones, not by energy in versus energy out. And yes, that plays a small role, but the type of energy in is way more important because the food you're eating and the particular way it digests is completely integral to setting the stage for the right hormones to be in control. I learned that starvation mode is a real thing. Your metabolism literally downregulates when you don't eat enough. If you add exercise into that equation, you can actually start to gain weight since your stress hormones spike. And I've had that happen many times. Anyone else here feel like they're doing everything and nothing's happening? Yeah, right, it's really, really frustrating. And give me a yes or raise your hands if this was you. Yeah, so think about it, right? Just remember that. We're gonna go into more detail. Yes, okay, great. I see the hands and the yeses and everything, perfect. So third, you're in the right place. If you're eating healthy, you're following all the diet rules, and you're still not losing weight. So big mistake number 3 for me was thinking that healthy food automatically meant fat loss. This was one of my biggest mistakes and the most frustrating because I felt like I was doing everything right. I was eating ridiculously healthy foods and still got stuck feeling gross, exhausted, I had no energy, and like I was missing out on all the things that I love, like chocolate. So we're gonna spend some serious time talking about this because this is a huge gap in the industry and in any other diet that you've tried. Fourth, you're in the right place if you crave carbs every single day and your willpower is just not enough. If at the end of the day, you've got no willpower left to avoid those chips or cookies or whatever your guilty pleasure is. This, ladies, was my nemesis. And it's one of the biggest diet fails for everyone I've worked with. Yeah, wheat is like crack for you. Well, for me, it was sugar. For me, it was sugar. For me, it was my gummy bears, okay? And the thing is that we tend to believe that it's normal to have to avoid certain foods using willpower, and that success depends on the strength of our willpower. Now, I want you to listen carefully. I learned that cravings actually have a physiological basis, that I craved carbs because my blood sugar was unbalanced and my body was desperately trying to achieve balance. My mind was blown when I learned this. And I know it's true because carb cravings, no matter how bad, really do disappear when your blood sugar becomes balanced. I see it happen time and time again with my clients, and honestly, I'm always blown away by it. I even see it in myself, not just clients. So if my blood sugar is imbalanced, my cravings are back. Now, isn't this the best to hear? Because all of this time you've spent thinking that these cravings were all about your lack of willpower, your mood, your likes or dislikes, when in reality there's something so basic and easily controlled driving them. I want you to imagine how good it feels to finally be in control of cravings. What would be different in your life? What would change? Just take a moment and think about that. How are cravings getting in the way for you right now? So while you ponder on that, while you think about that, I want to share this client testimonial with you. This is Veronica. She said, I'm a picky eater who does not like a lot of veggies and other stuff, and I'm a sugar addict. Horrible. I really feel the results, which are no cravings and no hunger until lunchtime. Before, I felt hungry every hour. I love the recipes of the program. It makes life much easier and yummy, and they work. Cravings really decrease. And just so you know, Veronica's cravings were so bad that she used to eat sugar by the spoonful. Okay? And finally, you are in the right place if you're so sick and tired of all the bullshit out there, pardon my French, you don't actually believe that anything will work anymore, but you haven't completely given up yet. And that's why you're here, listening to this free webinar. No matter how sick and tired of it all you are, you still want to lose weight, and there's no shame in that. So if after listening to my mistakes, you're still here and ready to learn, that means that you know you're in the right place. Now, I'd love to hear from you. You can type in the chat which one resonated the most. I told you that for me, it was believing that I just needed more willpower to stay away from the gummy bears and later the cookies and all that. So yeah, not true. Big mistake for me. So type in the chat and let me know. Yeah, cravings, right? The cravings and the willpower myth, big one. So we're going to address that today. So lots of cravings, eating less and exercising more. Yes. You've been eating healthy and still not losing weight. Yes. It's not necessarily a losing battle against age. It gets more difficult, but it's because we've been eating the wrong foods our whole life. And we need to learn, once we age, we really need to learn how to balance our hormones so that we can switch on the right hormones that burn fat. And eating less and exercising more, yes, so common, right? And often it's a combination of all of these, because sometimes you eat less and you exercise more, but you also think you have to fight willpower with cravings. So it's lots of things that are, so thank you so much for sharing, ladies. So finally, you're in the right place if you're so sick and tired. No, sorry, that one, I'm looking at the wrong slide. So now we're gonna go on to a major truth. This was definitely the truth in my case, and it is for most of my clients. What you know about dieting is totally wrong. Your cravings and impulses for junk food are not emotional. They're physiological. Until we understand what's going on in our bodies when we eat specific foods, we're setting ourselves up to fail over and over again. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that very frustrating. It feels like everything you've done has been kind of wasted, and yet the truth of it is so much easier than the restrictions or the supplements that are constantly thrown at us and don't work. And it's okay for you to be frustrated about that right now too. I get mad about it. I get mad about it for your sake, for the women, the millions of women who are still spending a fortune on pills and shakes and programs that simply don't work. Period. Okay? So now let's get into what I call the mind-blowing background so I can teach you exactly what does work and why. And this is the secret to how food works and how to make sense of macronutrients and fat. You ready? Okay, I'll try and keep it as simple and unsciency as possible. But if at any time you have a question, please type it in the chat and I'll be sure to answer it if it's related to what we're doing right now. Okay? So there are 3 macronutrients. There are only 3 macronutrients, and all food is made up of these 3 macronutrients: fat, protein, and carbohydrates. And foods are either one of these, so it's either just a fat like olive oil, or it's a combination of these, like meat. Meat is protein and fat, okay? So these macros are used for different things in our bodies. It's really important that we understand exactly what they're used for to be able to pick the right foods to balance our blood sugar and hormones and get rid of those cravings and switch on our fat burning hormones. Very important. So fat is used for hormones. Eating the right amount of fat alters your hormonal balance so you feel more energetic, less hungry, and you burn more calories. I told you that everything you know about weight loss is wrong, right? Fat doesn't make you fat, it actually helps you burn more calories. Fat is also essential for proper brain function, and it's used to make sure food is satisfying and that it keeps us feeling fuller longer. When we strip food of all its fat, it's tasteless. So food manufacturers have to add all these fillers and sugars and artificial flavors to them to make them tasty again. Now let's keep in mind that fat takes the longest to digest at about 3 to 4 hours. Okay? Also, fat does not raise your blood sugar. It keeps your blood sugar stable. Now let's talk protein. We're more familiar with protein. We know it's good. You know, protein is also structural, meaning it builds your skin, your hair, your nails, your immune system, your gut lining, etc. It's also really important for metabolism, as it's a highly thermogenic food. Proteins are also big structures, and they contain lots of molecules that need to be broken down into single amino acids before they can be absorbed and used as building blocks for our body. So having some protein throughout the day can really help your metabolism and help you feel full for longer periods of time. Now, protein digests a bit quicker than fat at about 2 to 3 hours compared to fat, which was 3 to 4. Now let's talk carbs. Carbohydrates break down into quick energy. So they basically digest down into sugar, which is the easiest thing your body can use for energy. And it's the body's preferred source of energy because of that. Now, when broken down, carbohydrates or carbs reach our bloodstream in the form of glucose. They elevate our blood sugar. You can see in the little graph that I put in there in the right-hand corner, lower right-hand corner, you can follow the red line going up in the graph. So yeah, carbs, they elevate our blood sugar, and that triggers the secretion of insulin. And insulin then comes and picks up the glucose or the sugar molecules and transports them to the working muscles to be used for energy. And that's when we see that the red line is going down, okay? Now, you can also see that the red line dips below the starting point. So it's really low. And this is because when we eat too many carbs at once, it raises our blood sugar really quickly. And then insulin comes in and just as quickly it takes all that sugar to the working muscle so they can be used for energy. The problem, though, is that it's a lot of energy being delivered all at once. And when all that energy is attempting delivery, the muscles turn it away because they don't really need all that energy, because we've just been sitting at our desk all day, in the car, or on the sofa binging Netflix. So insulin does what insulin does best. If the muscles turn the glucose away, it stores that energy as fat for you to use later. Now, not only have we stored that food as fat, which is very annoying, but also because all of that energy, so all that sugar and glucose was sent to the blood at once, and it was all stored at once, as a consequence, your blood sugar is now too low. And this, ladies, is when you feel groggy, you feel lightheaded, you feel tired, you want to crawl under your desk at work, and the good old cravings kick in again. But your body is very smart and very adaptive. When you experience these low blood sugar symptoms, your body causes you to crave the thing that's going to build your blood sugar up as quickly as possible, which is its preferred source of energy. Any guesses? We just reviewed it as one of the macros. It's carbohydrates. So when you have low blood sugar, your body's going to crave carbs to elevate blood sugar again. So then the whole process starts over again. And that's what I call the blood sugar roller coaster. So to wrap up carbs, I'd like to say that they digest very quickly, very, very quickly when compared to fat and protein. So they basically give you really quick energy off immediate, and they digest within 20 to 40 minutes. So if you keep those three things in mind, that will help you when looking at macros going forward. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, but as I mentioned earlier, this is not a science course, so I'm not going to go all in right now, okay? So this is what I call the big revelation number one. If fat storage is driven by hormones like insulin, like we just learned, and we know that different macros or different foods cause different hormones to be in control, we can use that knowledge to pick our foods according to our goals. Okay? Any questions at this point? I want to check in with you to make sure any questions about the macronutrients before we move forward, because the next thing we're going to talk about is the actual 3 steps to smarter fat loss. And I'm going to be repeating things over so that it becomes clear. I realize it's a lot of information to keep in mind, but I do want you to have that clarity. So if you had to eat carbs, when is the best time? I would say the best time would be in the evening, contrary to popular belief where people say you need to eat them in the morning. So I would eat them in the evening, and again, highlight that to really say it depends. I don't have more information about your activity, what you're doing, what else you're eating. And it's always, always important to look at the quality of your carbs. So I'm never going to say it's the best time to eat a donut is in the evening. So I'm talking about like good carbohydrates, like maybe some yams, or, you know, something that's just a little bit starchier. Okay. So, I'm going to turn off the video then again and move forward with the 3 steps to smarter fat loss. So you can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief now. We're done the background on food. You know enough to keep going and keep up with me as we actually go through the steps that I've put together for smarter fat loss. Okay, are you ready? I think any last questions? Sometimes it takes some time. It sounds like we're okay. So now that we've gotten through that, you can see how the entire low cal, no fat, sad little salad, rice cracker mentality is the complete opposite of how to eat for fat loss. Now, what you can do also is go ahead and type in the chat and share the one food you thought was good for fat loss that you're now rethinking. So mine, to share from my personal experience, my food that I thought was great for fat loss was granola and fruit. And I thought they were the healthiest breakfast in the world. But yeah, now I know better, it's not so much. So Special K is another one of those big ones, right? Where you think Special K, and I mean, I grew up with Special K being advertised everywhere, and I'm sure it still is nowadays, but that's just a bunch of BS too. It's all carbs. You're gonna get cravings within an hour, and you're gonna get crazy cravings after lunch and after dinner time if what you're eating is Special K. So definitely not really, it's just the industry doesn't know, or they just wanna sell you whatever it is is going to make them money. So, okay, let's do this, ladies. Number one, the first secret to smarter fat loss. You need to completely eradicate the whole willpower myth, and you need to understand that it's not willpower. It's the underlying blood sugar and inflammation issues. Let me explain. I like using the analogy of the elephant and the rider, which I read about in this great book called Switch by Chip and Dan Heath. Okay, so take a moment now and picture yourself. Picture yourself standing. Now picture yourself next to an elephant. I bet you suddenly feel really small and powerless next to that elephant. Now, let's say that you are willpower. And let's say that the big, strong elephant is blood sugar and your hormones. When riding the elephant, when you're riding the elephant as the rider, you like to think that you're calling the shots. And with an agreeable elephant, you are. But what happens when that elephant decides to do the opposite of what you want? Or you get so tired of working really hard to control that elephant. That elephant will do what it wants to do because the elephant can overpower a rider hands down any day. And when we think of willpower, we generally don't think about that elephant ultimately calling the shots, but that's exactly what's happening. Your willpower will never, ever win against blood sugar and hormones. And this has nothing to do with you being weak or no, it's simply that willpower will never win against blood sugar and hormones. Now, think about it. Isn't hearing that really great? I mean, you are off the hook. It's not your fault. It's just that you didn't know there was a greater power involved. Now, doesn't that just feel unreal to let yourself off the hook? Imagine letting yourself off the hook and seeing results at the same time, eliminating all that frustration. Okay, so we've already talked a bit about blood sugar in our mind-blowing background too, and I think you've got a grasp on that now, and we'll go even deeper into blood sugar in the next step. But it's enough to say that in order to balance blood sugar, we need to pay attention to the 3 real food groups, the macros, and keep them in balance. Okay? Now let's talk about inflammation because it's huge. You need to get rid of inflammation. I was personally making a critical mistake every other time I attempted to lose weight. And that's before I even picked the diet to try. You see, I was ignoring the fact that I was inflamed. And that's a big weight loss killer. And actually, if I'm honest, I wasn't ignoring it per se. I didn't even know inflammation was a thing. You probably don't either. Or, I mean, you might, I mean, you probably know what inflammation is, but you don't realize how interconnected inflammation is with fat storage. It's pretty crazy. So I'm gonna start by explaining that connection. So let's review what exactly is inflammation. Inflammation is when your body is reactive and irritated and attempts to flush fluids and resources to an area as a reaction. So acute inflammation is normal, and it's a process that helps restore balance and healing after an injury or illness. So I always give the example of my cats scratching me on the back of my hands, and then I have a little scab that forms, and it's red, and it's kind of, you know, it's kind of puffy. So that's the body healing itself. So that's the great inflammation that we want to have, because otherwise we wouldn't heal so quickly. But then there's chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is bad news, and it's caused very often by the foods we're eating and we don't even realize are irritating us. So what does inflammation do? Well, it causes us to be puffy and retain excess fluid, which makes us feel and look fatter to begin with. And secondly, it worsens your insulin resistance, meaning your body needs to make more. Now, insulin is your fat storing hormone, as we learned about in carbohydrates, and we'll go into that too in the next step. So this is not good. More insulin equals more fat storage. Inflammation also causes a hormone called leptin to be less effective. Leptin is the hormone that makes you feel full. So when you're inflamed, your hunger can be out of control and you never quite feel satisfied. And this happens so often. This, of course, makes you eat more. And since there's so much insulin available to store fat, guess what happens? Okay? Am I painting a picture for you here? Finally, as if inflammation wasn't bad enough, fat cells actually become little inflammation factories, meaning not only is inflammation making us gain more weight and look bigger to begin with, but the weight we gain actually increases the inflammation. Talk about a vicious cycle that we don't want, right? So if you can get rid of inflammation, big things happen. Bloating goes away, so you feel thinner right away. Your clothes will fit better. You aren't puffy, so your water retention goes away. Being inflamed kills your energy, so your energy goes way up when you get rid of inflammation. And this is huge for managing those afternoon sugar cravings. Also, you sleep better and your skin is clearer. So basically, cleaning up inflammation is a huge deal. And without doing that, you can't make much progress in lasting fat loss. Makes sense, right? Now that you know about it. Okay. So this is what, in my Smarter Fat Loss system, the first thing I do with clients is get rid of their cravings and manage inflammation. So everybody does a 10-day detox that's anti-inflammatory. And this is the results that my clients get after 10 days. They say, I woke up full of energy and I cleaned my kitchen ceiling. So imagine how much energy you have to have in order to want to clean your kitchen ceiling. And Mary said, I'm down 8 pounds from the time I started your detox. This is great. And then Romina says, I can't express how happy I am with my energy levels. The most remarkable thing of all is how I no longer feel like sleeping during the day. I even wanted to take a nap because I was bored on the weekend and I couldn't close my eyes. So yeah, she says that the detox has completely eliminated the water retention in her body and she loves the food. So that's the kind of results that we're looking for, right? That's exactly what we want. So how do we achieve this? What's the trick to losing fat without willpower? We get rid of, or we get blood sugar and inflammation caused by our diets under control before we start a fat loss program. Boom, you're set up for success. So that's step number one. Deal with the blood sugar and inflammation first. So you start out with reduced cravings, inches lost, and increased energy. Think about that right now. What would your life be like without cravings, without the bloat, and with more energy? Whew. So, secret number two. I'm kind of lost here. Okay. Secret number two, flip the switch, okay, over from storing fat to fat burning. So flip the switch over to fat burning by changing up the hormones in charge. You can manipulate your hormones through food. And I've alluded over and over to fat being stored or released according to hormones. So let's explain this a little bit further. I'm going to give you as simplified an explanation as I can. There are a lot of hormones and factors that work together with fat storage or fat release, but we're just going to focus on the two main hormonal players to keep it simple. Let's first talk a little bit about how fat actually works. Body fat evolved as a way for us to survive periods of famine. Basically, when we evolved, we were generally in a situation where food was available all the time, like now in the summer, or we were in a situation where no food was available, like the wintertime. Because our bodies are smart and adaptive, they figured out a way to take the energy from food when it was readily available and store it away for when it wasn't. The solution was fat cells. Your body uses fat cells as storage lockers to put away extra energy. You can literally think of fat as leftovers pushed to the back of the fridge, right? You can kind of imagine that. Okay, so in order to pack away the leftovers, your body relies on specific hormones to call the shots instead of Tupperware. And in order to use the leftovers, a different set of hormones comes in and makes that happen. So let's talk about these hormones. The first one is insulin. We've all heard of insulin before, but you'll forever look at it in a different way after this. Insulin is a power hormone. It's released from the pancreas in response to sugar entering the blood, and it moves the sugar or that glucose from the blood to the cells to be used as energy. When the cells are not in need of energy because we've been sitting at our desk all day, insulin tells the liver to convert excess sugar to fat so the body can store it for later use. That makes insulin our fat storing hormone. Glucagon is the other power player. You've probably never heard of glucagon before, but it's your best friend. Glucagon acts directly opposite to insulin and is responsible for breaking down stored fat and carbohydrates and using them for energy. Glucagon and insulin are counterparts, which means they're like opposite ends of a teeter-totter. When insulin is high, glucagon is low, and vice versa. So they're never high or low at the same time. Remember that. And this is huge. The type of foods you eat directly impacts whether insulin or glucagon is high. The type of food you eat is directly responsible for either building up those storage lockers or for helping to empty them. And this is big, right? Calories are not the be all and end all. Calories have no impact on these hormones. Isn't this cool? Don't you find this just mind-blowing after all those years of counting calories and only reading the calorie component of the label? I know I sure did, and I honestly still do. So to summarize, when insulin is released into the blood, you do not burn fat. So things should be making a little bit more sense now. They should be coming together, and you should be able to start to see that healthy foods, quote unquote, may not be healthy for every goal. Let's look at a few examples. And the first one is unrelated to fat loss, but it's a really good illustration of this point. So kale is healthy, right? It's a superfood. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. What about for someone who has severe IBS? For that person, kale is actually extremely unhealthy because it's so rough. It actually irritates the intestine and causes a flare-up in a ton of people. So yes, kale is healthy. It has all these vitamins and minerals and fiber. It's even green, but it's not healthy for Jen, who has severe IBS. Does that make sense? Okay, let's bring it back here to weight loss. Oatmeal. Oatmeal is healthy, right? Steel cut oats, gluten-free oats, lots of B vitamins, fiber, sure. But is oatmeal great for fat loss? Mainly carbs, low fat, so it leads to blood sugar instability. In this case, I'd say no. So healthy food, yes, but not ideal for your current goal. You need to use this lens to look at all of the healthy, quote unquote, foods that you've been eating, thinking they support fat loss. You also need to look through this lens at the quote unquote unhealthy foods you've been avoiding. Does that make sense? This is when I always imagine everybody's jaw just kind of dropped and going, oh. Is that what it feels like for you right now? You can raise your hand or just let me know in the chat. Yeah, isn't that cool information? Okay. So now that we know about step number 2, let's move on to step number 3. We now have blood sugar managed, so we can start to see actual fat loss. After that, we moved on to hormonal fat burning and using the right foods to make sure that happens. Now, step number 3 is to stop sabotaging ourselves by making the biggest mistake when it comes to fat loss. You have to eat more to burn fat. That means you have to stop falling for the latest or even the oldest fad diets. I'm going to tell you something. Weight loss on these diets is almost always due to calorie restriction. Calorie restriction is dangerous because your body can't keep it up forever. So eventually it has to end. Also, when you restrict your calories, your metabolism follows suit and declines over time. And when you start eating a regular amount of food again, it doesn't just come back up. And this is why the rebound weight effect is so huge. You gain it all back again and more. So there are basically 2 things to blame for this. Let's talk a bit about the most popular diets and why exactly they failed you. I'm assuming that if you're on this webinar now, you've experienced at least one of these or more. So culprit number 1, let's start with Weight Watcher type diets. I love Oprah and I make no secret of it, but I don't love Weight Watchers. With Weight Watchers, you track your food according to a point system. And this is basically the first stop for most women. It seems pretty simple, it's fairly inexpensive, and we all know someone who's lost a bunch of weight on Weight Watchers, at least temporarily. Now, I hate to break it to you, but they just changed the word calories for points. All Weight Watchers is calorie restriction. And the problem with that is that you're focusing on the part of the weight loss equation which has the smallest effect. It also means as soon as you stop counting points, you're totally lost because you haven't actually changed what you eat. You've just restricted it down to less than you actually need. Anyone here been on Weight Watchers before that can relate? Just raise your hand, let me know. Yeah, right? Common, very common, lots of people. So let's run through an actual scenario, okay? Let's say that you want to lose 20 pounds or 30, 40, whatever your number is. You're currently eating 2,000 calories a day, and with that, you're maintaining your current weight. So you might not be where you want to be, but you're maintaining. And that means that if you decrease your intake to 1,500 calories a day, you're going to have less calories coming in than you're burning, and you will lose weight, right? And you will, at least at first. So you'll lose a few pounds, but here's the thing, like I keep saying, your body is super smart and super adaptive. Its goal is to keep you alive. And less calories in than out means eventual starvation. So your body actually adjusts the amount of energy you use on daily activities. So in other words, it adjusts your metabolism. And so now instead of burning 2,000 calories a day, which you were doing before, it's now only burning 1,500 calories a day. So you stop losing weight. You get frustrated. So you go ahead and you eat less. Now you're eating 1,200 calories a day. But the same thing happens, and so on and so forth. Metabolic downregulation is very real. And it also takes a very long time for your metabolism to bounce back from where it started. And we also can't keep it up indefinitely. And eventually we'll go back to eating those 2,000 calories. But the brutal part is that now you've trained your body to eat less. You're only burning 1,200 calories a day. So on the exact same amount of food you started out eating and maintaining, now you're eating and gaining. Right? So that in a nutshell is why calorie restriction doesn't work. Now, the last culprit is basically the eat less and exercise more approach. And this is probably the worst offender, because in this one, you're not only down regulating because you're taking in less energy than you need consistently, but in this case, you're actually causing muscle damage, which is normal when you exercise. But you cause this muscle damage and then not providing your body with the raw materials to repair those muscles. This results in less lean muscle in your body, which is a huge problem because lean muscle is metabolically active. That means that when you're just hanging out or existing, the muscles in your body are constantly burning calories for you. Fat tissue does not. Fat tissue is an inactive tissue. So if you have less muscle, you're burning less energy and you're reducing your metabolism. See why this is such a huge problem? Especially because nobody talks about it. A lot of you ladies have told me, even when you join my Facebook group, when you're on social media, you've told me that you're frustrated because you eat less and you exercise more, but still see no results. And this is exactly why. And now that you have this key information, you can assess pretty much any plan out there and see if it's actually just calorie restriction in disguise. And if it is, I urge you to stay far, far away from it. Whew. So we've done it. We've gone through the information. It's been a lot of information. So I want to quickly recap the 3 steps to smarter fat loss for you, so it's not all muddled. So number 1, you want to start to balance blood sugar and reduce inflammation to get rid of cravings and start real fat loss. Number 2, You want to flip the metabolic switch from fat storing to fat burning mode by using the right macros. Create balanced meals so blood sugar is stable and the fat burning hormones are in the driver's seat. And third, avoid the biggest problem most women have, which is calorie restriction. Make sure you're eating enough. And I can't emphasize this enough. So let's now recap why you showed up today. You showed up because you want to fit into your favorite clothes again without having to give up chocolate or go to bed hungry. You want a simpler way to lose fat without having to spend hours at the gym. You want to stop feeling uncomfortable and gross in your own skin. I hear this so often. And you want to lose fat so you can feel confident and reclaim your energy. And this is my lovely mom, by the way. She says, I finally feel like myself again. No more hiding from the camera or feeling insecure when I look at myself in the mirror or down at my toes and all I saw was my belly fat. And side note, it was really easy for my mom to hide from the camera because she's got 4 kids and 6 grandchildren. So at family reunions, it was easy for her to just go to the back. She says, I tried it all, eating healthy, herbs, doctors, when all I had to do was listen to my daughter and follow her simple advice. And my mom is in her 60s and she's had 4 kids. So it worked for her, okay? This is not something that stops working. It becomes harder at some age, but if you follow the system, you will see results. And my mom even said, Natalie, you can share a picture of me in my bikini because I look so great, but I didn't want to do that. So I did want to respect my mom and not share a picture of her in the bikini. And this is Valerie. Valerie sent this picture to me one morning and she says, I finally took the right step with this program. Actually, she wrote in her message, she wrote, I had to share. I have not gotten below 155 in forever. I think my lowest was 153. My goal is 140 and she's well on her way there. She's actually running a half marathon this Sunday. So go Valerie. And she said, I can't believe my eyes. This has become the lifestyle change I wanted. So yay. Now to recap on my promise, I promised you that you're going to leave this webinar knowing exactly how food and fat loss works so you can start losing fat right away. No magic pills or stomach growls involved. Now here's the thing I want you to remember. Everything I've shared with you today isn't some random theory or some idea that I think or hope might work for you. Everything I walked you through today works. It works for me and it's worked for my clients who all started from a similar spot you're in right now. I'm not different and they are not different. We all have busy lives, families, work, a social life, and if they can do it, I'm certain that you can do it too. You already know that you can achieve lasting weight loss as long as you have accountability and a plan to follow. So you're halfway there already. Now you have a choice. You can give it one more try on your own, but lovingly be honest with yourself. Are you really prepared to put in the time, the energy, and the effort to create your own system? Are you okay with the trial and error taking time? Are you okay with doing it alone and turning to Google when you need help? Be honest with yourself and answer these questions to yourself. Maybe you are, and maybe that route will work for you. But the reality is, for most of us, that's not usually the route that will bring success. You can take what you learned here today. You decide to take action. That's your other option. You actually learn to work with your body instead of against it. You lower your insulin, you increase your glucagon, you quit dealing with willpower altogether, and you can quit failing. You lose weight, you lose it consistently, you keep it off, and you get help when you get stuck. The choice is yours. Now, I'd love to ask you, would it be okay if I took a couple of minutes to share how I can best help you? So just raise your hand or give me a yes in the chat. My job is to give you the right information so that you can lose weight without all the struggle. So would that be okay? Yay, I'm getting the yeses. Okay, then I'll give you that free gift I mentioned at the beginning on the training after that, okay? And then we have time for Q&A. So I'm really honored and excited to be, just give me a moment here. Let me see. Yeah, to be sharing this opportunity with you, because the best way I can help you is by personally supporting each and every one of you here today. So what I've done is I've set aside some time over the next few days to speak with you personally about how I can best support you to apply what we talked about today so you can finally lose weight and keep it off within 3 months, okay? Okay, so I do this with a call. I call it the weight loss breakthrough call. The best part is that in our 45-minute weight loss breakthrough call, you will gain so much confidence because you'll be able to see how this system, this framework works so well that you'll be asking yourself how this call is free. Well, it is, and here's what you can do next, okay? So in the chat box, I've copied the link into the chat box. You can click on there to schedule your 45-minute weight loss breakthrough call. Do you see it there? It's in the chat box. So this, once you click on that link, this is what you will see. This is what it looks like when you get over to my online scheduler. Once you're here, you'll notice the days with available times are marked blue. The gray ones indicate that there's no time available. So click on the day that best suits you, that's blue, to see the actual times available. And that'll show you the availability for that day specifically. I've put aside a very limited amount of hours for this, so the longer you wait, the less options you'll have. And after you schedule your call, you'll be sent an email notification. And I strongly urge you to mark your calendar, as you'll likely forget and miss out on this opportunity. And it sucks for me too, honestly, as I'll be setting time aside for you and I'll be dialing your number and I'll have nobody show up, okay? So there's no call center making this call. It'll be you and me. And the calls are done over the phone. I'll contact you at the start time of the call. Easy peasy, okay? So you've seen the link there. Now that you've seen how to schedule your weight loss breakthrough call with me, I want to cover a couple of specifics. On the call, you will get clear on your specific goal, what is getting in the way of achieving it, and any self-sabotage that is currently happening. And this way, by the time the call is over, you'll learn with helpful strategies that propel your success. Does that sound good? Yeah? Give me a yes if you know that a call like this will help you move forward. If you just know that what you need is to talk to somebody to get clarity. Yes, right? So that's what I'm doing this for. And here's the important thing to know. The call is 100% free. Okay, so you might be thinking there's a catch to this. You know, you're like, Natalie, you just told me all of the ways you're going to help me, so why is this call free? So first of all, the call is free because this is my mission in life, like I shared with you before. Literally, my life's work is to support women who want to lose weight, be good to their bodies, okay, and not have to starve themselves. I have a core value in my business where I offer value first. I'm not a big corporation. I'm another human being that wants to help other human beings. And I start offering value first by helping you with this webinar and with the call. And I know that I can help you overcome some of the barriers that have been stopping you from achieving your desired weight in a super short period of time. And second, I know that there are many of you listening that want more personalized support and accountability. And if you're someone who knows that you've put in the work, but that in order for you to succeed, you need a system, you need guidance, we can then discuss next steps on the call to determine if you are a right fit for the Smarter Fat Loss System. And if not, that's completely okay too. You'll get to leave the call with so much value, clarity, and confidence. And of course, we'll part as friends. Okay, so you are right. You are right though. You know, you're kind of thinking there's a catch. So there is one catch. The catch is that if you are looking for a quick fix or a magic pill, so to speak, something where you don't have to do any work, a way to lose weight where you don't care if it supports your overall well-being, or, you know, then this call isn't right for you. So this call is not for you if you like to blame things on others and you don't believe that you're in charge of your own well-being. If you're looking for a quick fix or a magic pill, this is not for you. And if you're not willing to follow a system, this is not for you either. Then you can turn to Google again. Okay, so, and if you're not committed to make the time for change, if you're not open-minded, and if you're not ready to put yourself first, then this is not for you. I'll be honest with you. I'm not trying to, you know, like make a quick buck here. And look, I know that this system works. I've shown you examples throughout this training of some of my clients who've had success, and there's a reason that they've lost weight. My clients are committed to their goals. I want success so bad for my clients and for you, but I can't be the only one putting in the effort. I 100% believe and know that when you commit to goals using the system, then you will achieve success. So the first step is to schedule that weight loss breakthrough call. And, you know, if you're someone who's ready and if you want to lose weight and you want to keep it off and you want to commit, then this is for you. If you're ready to stop doing all of the things that don't work or the things you think you should do and focus on the proven system that does work. And you know that the road to success, it's not straight. Even with a system, it's not straight. Life happens, it's windy, but you're committed and we'll work through it together. Okay, and this is for you if you want to learn about blood sugar, if you want to learn about hormones, inflammation, and all that jazz that nobody has told you about before. Okay, and if you're coachable, and if you're ready for support and you need accountability, and if you're tired of trying things that don't work and are done getting short-term results. Okay, so even if you've tried eating less and exercising more, and if you've tried using willpower to overcome your cravings, if you're done with eating healthy and being hungry and not seeing any results, then this, darling, is for you. So head on over to the calendar to secure your time right now, because there's a very big difference between trying to figure this out on your own and working with an expert who has a track record of success.